Please join me in welcoming Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada.
Mes amis, bonjour. Merci Maurice pour votre introduction. C'est toujours un plaisir d'être de retour à Paris et je suis vraiment heureux d'avoir la chance d'être ici à Vivatech. Les événements comme celui-ci réunissent des gens de l'industrie, des start-up, comme on dit en bon français, des hauts dirigeants, des investisseurs, des étudiants et des universitaires venus de partout dans le monde. Nous sommes ici aujourd'hui pour partager nos idées et nos meilleures pratiques, conscients des nombreuses occasions qui s'offrent à nous. We are living in an exciting, constantly evolving digital world. And many Canadian workers and companies have helped get us to this point, leading the way in fields like video game development, fintech, and machine learning. Our communities are becoming more interconnected than ever before, allowing old friends to get back in touch and helping families share special moments from thousands of miles away. Truly, technological advancement has totally redefined how we live our lives. It's never been easier to take your banking into your own hands. We search for jobs with the click of a button. Artificial intelligence is revolutionizing medicine. And you can now run an online business for a few bucks a month. Who would have thought, even just a decade ago, that these things were on the horizon? It's incredible when you think of it, that this very moment, right now, the pace of change has never been this fast, and yet in the future, it will never be this slow again. The speed at which we will continue to innovate, solve problems, and advance our societies will surprise us in a good way. The technological opportunity in front of us is enormous. That cannot be overstated. But change, and change that happens quickly, comes with risks, too. What we're seeing now is a digital sphere that's turned into the Wild West. And it's because we, as governments and as industry leaders, haven't made it enough of a real priority. But we have to pay attention to what's happening. The very character of our countries is on the line. Vous savez, il y a 2 ans, les Canadiens ont célébré le 150e anniversaire de notre Confédération. Et au cours de ces 150 dernières années, nous avons établi une série de normes qui régissent notre vie quotidienne et la façon dont on interagit les uns avec les autres. Des normes qui reflètent les valeurs qui sont au cœur de notre société canadienne. Des valeurs d'ouverture, de respect, de compassion, la poursuite d'égalité, d'opportunité et de justice. Aujourd'hui, la réalité, c'est que le fossé entre le monde virtuel et le monde réel a disparu. Et maintenant, on doit veiller à ce que ces normes et ces valeurs ne disparaissent pas, elles aussi. When 51 people were gunned down at a mosque in New Zealand and the attacker streamed it live, it wasn't a wake-up call, it was the last straw. For government leaders, for tech companies like yours, and for citizens around the world. The usual response when these tragedies strike is to offer thoughts and prayers, to say the right words at the right time, but not actually do anything. Well, some people say that in the wake of an attack like that, we shouldn't be talking about policy. Save it for another time, they say, when the dust has settled and the emotions aren't as raw. Well, I believe that when 51 people are murdered and the whole world can watch it in real time, well, that's exactly the time to talk about policy. Yesterday, alongside like-minded leaders, including President Macron and Prime Minister Ardern, Canada signed on to the Christchurch Call for Action. We're ready to work with the private sector, including and especially the people in this room, to eradicate terrorist and violent extremist content online once and for all. La tâche qui nous attend est énorme, je le sais, mais opter pour le contraire, c'est-à-dire de ne rien faire, serait inacceptable. Les plateformes, en particulier, ont la responsabilité fondamentale de veiller à ce que la technologie qu'elles offrent au reste du monde ne soit pas utilisée pour répandre les discours haineux ou diffuser des gestes de violence. Et lorsque les algorithmes de certaines plateformes permettent ou même favorisent la propagation de contenus odieux, quelque chose doit changer. L'appel à l'action de Christchurch constitue une étape importante et fondamentale qui souligne ce que nous, membres de la communauté internationale, gouvernements, fournisseurs de services en ligne, devons faire pour rectifier la situation. C'est clair qu'on doit adopter une approche coordonnée à l'échelle mondiale, mais on doit également identifier des solutions chez nous, à l'échelle nationale. Les enjeux auxquels nous sommes confrontés sont complexes. Si nous voulons trouver des solutions réelles, des solutions durables, on doit absolument élaborer une stratégie globale qui nous permettra de réglementer l'espace numérique. Here's the reality. People are losing trust in digital institutions for a whole host of reasons. They're anxious about the future of tech and the future of data. From emotional contagion experiments to major privacy breaches, these concerns are absolutely valid. It used to be that governments had the tools they needed to protect their citizens in every sphere. Now, citizens are living more and more of their lives in a digital space that is unregulated, and that leaves people completely vulnerable. It's up to the platforms and governments to take their responsibilities seriously and to ensure that people are protected online. You don't have to put the blame on people like Mark Zuckerberg or dismiss the benefits of social platforms to know that we can't rely exclusively on companies to protect the public interest. We, of course, need innovators, small, medium, and large, to be developing new ideas. But we also need governments to ensure that the public interest is not at risk. Companies are built to attract investment and reward risk takers and investors. Government is there to promote innovation and risk-taking while setting guardrails that protect us from the things that could go wrong. And so we have to outline a path forward, even as we work to legislate and regulate in this ever-evolving tech space. It is essential that countries define how they will make those crucial decisions going forward. That's why today I'm announcing that Canada is stepping up. We will be launching a brand new digital charter. This charter will outline what Canadians can expect from both the government and the private sector as it relates to the digital landscape. It will touch on principles like universal access and transparency, and it will serve as our guide as we craft new digital policy. Grâce à ce nouveau cadre, notre gouvernement élaborera des politiques qui auront comme objectif de rétablir la confiance des citoyens et de tenir les plateformes responsables. Parce que quand les gens ont confiance et lorsque les plateformes sont tenues responsables, chacun d'entre nous est en mesure de tirer profit des nouvelles occasions qui s'offrent à nous. Cette nouvelle charte n'est que le dernier exemple des nombreuses mesures que nous avons adoptées. Lorsqu'on parle de rétablir la confiance des citoyens à l'égard des technologies, notre gouvernement a déjà identifié des problèmes et mis en place des solutions. Le Canada est véritablement un chef de file à ce chapitre. Et on a fait preuve de leadership en ayant des conversations honnêtes avec les Canadiens et avec les grandes plateformes sur des questions comme les discours haineux, la désinformation et l'ingérence électorale. Hate and extremism are thriving online. I don't think anyone here would dispute that. Thanks to the anonymity of the internet, people can bully, harass, and intimidate nearly anyone who has a Twitter account. We're seeing more and more public figures and everyday citizens choosing to step away from social media accounts, silencing their own voices because the rhetoric has gotten so toxic. And who can blame them? It's commentary we wouldn't tolerate on our streets or in our public spaces. Platforms often facilitate and encourage this destructive behavior, and as a result, these same platforms have become a breeding ground for extremists. With the power of the internet, and through lack of proper oversight, the hateful can champion their views and incite violence from behind a computer screen and without consequence. And while these vile views live and fester online, they spill out into the real world with increasingly deadly consequences. It is our moral responsibility as leaders in government and in business to denounce this hatred at every turn. We must stand united. We must fight back. Au Canada, nous n'avons ménagé aucun effort. Nous avons travaillé avec différents partenaires et avec les grandes plateformes par l'intermédiaire du Forum mondial de lutte contre le terrorisme sur Internet pour déceler et éliminer le contenu terroriste en ligne. Nous avons mis sur pied le Centre canadien d'engagement communautaire et de prévention de la violence qui vise à mettre fin à la radicalisation qui mène à la violence. Nous avons intensifié nos enquêtes visant les groupes extrémistes et haineux, y compris les groupes néo-nazis qui prônent la suprématie blanche. En 2018, le Canada a parrainé la première résolution du Conseil des droits de l'homme des Nations unies sur la prévention et la lutte contre la violence faite aux femmes et aux filles dans les contextes numériques. Et dans le cadre de notre dernier budget, nous avons annoncé un financement destiné à la mise en œuvre d'une stratégie robuste pour combattre le racisme. Ce sont des mesures essentielles, des mesures cruciales que nous devons prendre. Mais le travail ne s'arrête pas ici. Hate speech isn't the only issue permeating the tech world. Disinformation is also eroding trust between people and platforms. Facebook is by far the single largest source of online news in Canada. Articles and graphics are shared with a click, but more and more we're seeing that the content of those articles or the numbers in those graphics are either totally false or seriously manipulated. And what's worse, they're often passed off as the real deal, tricking people who don't have time to go down the rabbit hole of verifying internet sources. In Canada, more than 6 in 10 millennials admit to falling victim to fake news. And the people who spread that fake news take advantage of the same characteristics of online platforms that allow hate and extremism to fester. The deliberate spreading of false information is undermining both social cohesion and democracy writ large. In Canada, our Minister of Health posted about the importance of getting your kids vaccinated with the tongue-in-cheek warning that vaccines cause adults. Her social media was completely overrun for 2 days with virulent comments from anti-vaxxers, trolls, and bots. This is a real problem. So in Canada, We've launched citizen resilience and digital literacy initiatives so that people can learn to identify and resist disinformation campaigns. We've also launched a review of the Broadcasting and Telecommunications Acts to ensure that they reflect the digital era we live in, both in terms of opportunities and risks. But there's always more to do, and a lot of what